Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, we made it to a game day. The Senators are back from Europe, back from a 6-day break, and ready to take on the New York Islanders at home.
This will be their second time up against the Islanders, and it brings the age-old question, rust versus rest after coming back from Europe.
We also have notes from the morning skate, including an absence of one of the goaltenders. All that's coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 924 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, lockedon.senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's question: how do you think the Sens are going to come out after such a long layoff? The rest versus rust debate will be coming soon. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time app. Create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL, and get $20 off your first ticket purchase. That includes tickets for tonight's game at the CTC. Go to Game Time, apropos, for a game day edition of the show. Today is Friday, November 24th, and Pilsy, the question everybody needs to know: you're 2-0 wearing the reverse retro. Is that trend continuing tonight?
You know what? That's a good question, Ross. I thought about that. In my mind, I was just going to have that for other continental games. So maybe next time the Global Series happens again, hopefully in Germany, I would rock the reverse retro. But maybe let's get a sense from the audience whether I should go back to the reverse retro to try to keep things going, because it's 2-0 since I wore it.
2-0 since you started the reverse retro, 3-0 in their last 3 games, 4-1 in their last 5, but it feels like it's so far gone that is momentum lost with these long breaks between games. Now, one other trend that we were curious if it would continue or not is Daniel Alfredsson behind the bench and stick a needle in the balloon. The air is out. Bruce Garriock reporting that Daniel Alfredsson will be back up as an eye in the sky alongside Ben Sexton. Your thoughts on that move?
Yeah, we had talked about this. I kind of thought this would happen. It's nice that going over to Sweden, that was the gesture. All right, we're back in your home country, Alfie. Let's get you on the bench. Plus, Bob Jones wasn't able to travel with the team. He's usually on the bench, so there's an extra spot for a coach to be behind there. So Daniel Alfredsson does that over in Sweden. But now that they're back in North America, Bob Jones back on the bench, so I think they're going back to normal here. But it is unfortunate because, I mean, hey, you're 2-0 with Alfie on the bench. That's good right there. And he's just a good guy to have around. Like we said, we don't care what Alfie's position is. Just put him wherever he wants to be, whenever he wants to be there, and I think you're going to have success.
Well, our friend of the show, Ian Mendez, who joined us from Stockholm last week, said that in his article that Josh Norris was quoted, or in his article, I should say, as saying he loved having Alfie on the bench because he knows exactly the X's and O's. And I feel like that's kind of an undercover part of what Alfie brings. He's always someone who is very much in tune with the strategy behind hockey. So I'm curious to see, as Alfie gets more and more comfortable with his roles as an Ottawa Senators member of the coaching staff, what changes we start to notice over an extended period of time. That curl up when he gets into the offensive zone that brings back memories. Remember, Clark MacArthur used to do that all the time too. It was a bit Alfie-esque, but puck possession is the name of Alfie's game. So hopefully that translates more and more to the Ottawa Senators, who still find themselves below 50% when it comes to the overall puck possession aspect of the game. But they have another opportunity against a slow team. The New York Islanders have 7 players over the age of 30 on their team. Ottawa's got 3, give or take, and it just seems like this is the type of game where you're able to use that speed to your advantage. Now, before we get to the lines and everything, the note from the morning skate, Joonas Korpisalo is not ready to return. He was day-to-day coming back from Sweden. We talked to Mads Sogaard yesterday. That sneaky bastard, he knew he was getting called up during that interview, don't you think?
I don't know, Ross. It's tough to say because we kind of were asking like, oh, when are you going to play next? Like Belleville plays on Saturday, and he didn't seem to jump all over that question. So maybe he did know. I don't know.
Well, when we were talking before, we're like, hey, thanks for doing it. He said anytime. So I said, what are you doing tomorrow morning? And he did say the bus leaves to Connecticut. The Belleville Sens bus left at 8 a.m.
True.
So I don't know. But
Yeah.
Mads Sogaard was on the ice. What a great dude. Like, such a good guy. I'm really rooting for Mads to be the guy in goal going forward for the Ottawa Senators. Just the presence he has, 6'7", and I find he's less hard on himself. I feel like the maturity, even if you go back and listen to the first time he was on our show, when he was, 19, 20 years old, now as a 23-year-old, you can tell all the lessons that he's learned. He's played 93 games now in the organization, but it will be Anton Forsberg getting the start. He can carry that momentum, you got to think, from an exceptional performance against Minnesota over in Sweden.
Yeah, Ross, obviously it's unfortunate Korpisalo's still out, especially when it was referred to as day-to-day
Still
a
is.
week ago. But a week ago, it was day-to-day. Like, how many days do you get in day-to-day? That's what I want to know here.
We're all day-to-day, Pilsy.
Yeah, we are all day-to-day, that's for sure. But I thought he would be ready to go. But even if he was ready to go, Ross, I was putting Forsberg in this game. I would like that Korpisalo will be ready for Monday's game up against the Panthers. That's a huge divisional matchup. And I've said it before, for this team to have success, both these goalies have to be in the mix. You can't have Korpisalo running away with too many games and having Forsy kind of a little rusty for that sake. So I'm glad Forsberg's going to get the start here because even though he's the goalie that played the last game, that feels like forever ago. So Forsy's getting in tonight. Mads Sogaard will be backing him up, and hopefully Korpisalo's ready for Monday.
A week today, the Senators will start a back-to-back at Columbus, home to Seattle. So hopefully he's in by then. Otherwise, I hope they go with Mads. I hope that he gets to see another game. This guy's not a rookie even anymore, I don't think, by NHL standards, because he played almost 20 games last year and then had, I think, 2 the year before. So you look at a situation in goal that's pretty fluid with the Ottawa Senators, but if Anton Forsberg can pick up where he left off on Sunday, then all good, at the very least, for the foreseeable future here tonight, taking on the New York Islanders. Still no word on who starts in goal for the New York Islanders. Ilya Sorokin has not been his best this season, but Semyon Varlamov got the win against Ottawa on Long Island last month. So, you know what? Ottawa just needs to focus on themselves here. Coming up after a quick break, we'll get into the Senators' line combinations. Not only was Mads Sogaard recalled, a forward was it well. So we'll tell you who that is. Locked on players to watch. We'll take a look at the other side with the New York Islanders. And oh yeah, rest versus rust. That's all coming up. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Guys, do you ever feel like your brain is getting in its own way? Like you know what you should do, but you're just not sure you can do it. Therapy helps you figure out what's holding you back so you can work for yourself instead of working against yourself. I'm personally someone that has used therapy for over 3 years now, and it's done a lot of help for me. And I hope that other people feel empowered to give it a try for themselves, because it could do a lot of help for you as well. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And I like this, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's so important to get the right person that fits what you need. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL today to get 10% off your first month. Guys, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Check it out today, guys. BetterHelp.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. You know we love our friends over at the GLEBE Central Pub. They are at 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe. So if you're going for a walk in the Glebe or going down to Lansdowne on a weekend, make sure you stop by and get a pint, get a bite at the Glebe Central Pub. They also have lots of fun, interactive events, whether it's open mic night, whether it's live music. You can get it all at the Glebe Central Pub. They love the Senators just as much as you and I, and that's why they have the Sens Shuttle to and from the CTC for a round trip cost of $17. Now, the bus is filling up more and more each game. We love that. So, just so we know, when you go to the website, you can buy Senators tickets through the website. The bus is separate to that. So go over to GLEBECentralPub.com and get the bus ticket separately, even if you buy the game tickets through the website. It's a separate button to press. You can go to the website, GLEBECentralPub.com, and then the Send Shuttle. You'll see the $17. Click the link right there, and it will get you where you need to be. So good problems. It just means the vibe is that great on the bus that we are going to fill the seats up, and Sue is going to take you where you need to be. The bus leaves an hour and 15 minutes before the Ottawa Senators home games. I might be on it very soon. Might have booked an impromptu trip back home. So I'll see you on the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle over at 779 Bank Street. They bring you right back after the game. Make sure you go check them out. 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe. All right, Pillsy, game day edition. And this is just the NHL adding an FU to the exclamation that has been how they feel about the Ottawa Senators this year. So not only do we have to wait 6 games, Pillsy, 6 days, we got to wait an extra half hour, a 7:30 puck drop tonight. Come on.
And Ross, especially, like, a lot of these games are happening throughout the day. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like 5 games happening before the Sens today.
Easily, maybe even more. Because
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games are happening before the Sens. Sheesh.
Yes, exactly. But hey, we're just happy to have Sens hockey back, right? Like, let's not get caught up in the details. I don't even remember how to postcast, but we will be in the postcast. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. We can get you all caught up right after the game where we vent or vibe on the postcast. Now, Pillsy, the lines for tonight's game. Yes, we got lineups right here, and it is the exact same as the Detroit game. No, not the Minnesota game, the Detroit game, because Matthew Highmore has also been called up. I should say it's a hybrid because Sogaard was called up for the Minnesota game. But out of the skaters, the 18 skaters, Matthew Highmore is back at left wing on the 4th line. The forwards are as follows. Josh Norris between Brady Tkachuk and Vladimir Tarasenko. Tim Stützle between Mathieu Joseph and Claude Giroux. We've got Roby Yarventi with Dominic Kubalik and Drake Batherson and Rourke Chartier, Matthew Highmore, and Parker Kelly. On the back end, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub. We've got Jacob Chikrin with Jacob Bernard Docker, Eric Branstrom with Travis Hamonic. Again, Thomas Chabot continues to skate. He is eligible to come off of the long-term injured reserve December 1st at Columbus. So working his way towards that. Anton Forsberg starts in goal. Pillsy, your locked-on player to watch tonight.
My locked-on player for tonight is going to be Mathieu Joseph. I mean, this is a guy that has a lot of speed that I think can take advantage of an older, slower New York Islanders team. So I want to see Joseph continue to do what he's been doing all year. The revenge tour of Mathieu Joseph has been a success so far. He's playing miles ahead of where he was last season, and he's being rewarded for that. Ross, if you would have told me when we were doing our line combos preseason, trying to figure it out, that Mathieu Joseph would be the player skating beside Tim Stützle and Claude Giroux, I would not have believed you. But here he is through much better gameplay, and any line that he's been put on has been successful this year. And DJ Smith even giving him credit in the media saying the same. So I want to see Mathieu Joseph have a fast, speedy game and really light things up here.
That Joseph Giroux Stützle combination, according to moneypuck.com, with 56.5 minutes together, it's the second most used line combination at 5-on-5 for Ottawa. They are dominant when it comes to the expected goals percentage when they're on the ice. The other lines that have played more than 45 minutes, Pillsy, they have expected goals percentage of 44, 49, 48. The combo of Timmy G and Joseph, 64% of the expected goals when they're on the ice. So they're putting the puck in the right areas. And with that, I'm going to pluck another player off that line for my locked on player to watch. I've got Claude Giroux tonight. He has more points and more goals against the New York Islanders than any other team in the National Hockey League, and that's over an 1,100 game sample size. So this guy can put the puck in the net. It's a familiar foe. And what I also love about Claude Giroux is he's the type of guy who's going to make sure everyone's prepared for tonight's game. It's not going to be, oh yeah, nice to get back. It's going to be, no. This is a critical juncture of the schedule. These next 3-4 weeks leading up to the Christmas break, Claude Giroux needs to lead by example, and I surely expect him to do just that. If you're watching on YouTube, I've pulled up his career numbers against the New York Islanders, 73 points in 68 games, averaging 19 minutes and 15 seconds. Those 26 goals, also a career high against any team in the National Hockey League. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Claude Giroux can do against the Islanders. Funny enough, he has 25 against Pittsburgh. So it was this year that pushed him over with the Islanders because he did have one of the Senators' 2 goals in that 3-2 loss last month. It was a power play marker as well, Pilsy. And interesting to note, Claude Giroux back on the second power play unit at practice yesterday. Well, call it what you want. I mean, it has Chychrun, it has Tarasenko on it, and it has Claude Giroux. So those are 3 big dogs there for your second power play unit. But the other 2 on there is Joseph and Kubalik, whereas whoever has Brady and Timmy is really the top unit, right? With Jake Sanderson. And the Citizens have voted Jake Sanderson as the Citizen locked on player to watch. I mean, he is the number 1 defenseman on this team. Crazy to say as he just turned 21 in July. But Pilsy, what can you say about the play of Jake Sanderson, especially since Artem Zub returned to the lineup?
Yeah, that Zub-Sanderson pairing is just so good. I have a feeling they're going to be hit with the toughest assignments tonight, probably going up against the New York Islanders top line that, say what you want about the Islanders, but they do have some skill up in their top 6, and Sanderson and Zub are going to be relied on to try to slow those guys down.
I found it interesting as well. MoneyPuck.com actually tweeted this stat out. The fewest expected goals against per 60 minutes. So these are the best defensive pairs in the National Hockey League. The Sanderson-Zub pair is tied with the Jonas Brodin-Brock Faber pair for 10th best in the National Hockey League. Now, small sample size, yes. I get it. They played 100 minutes together. Brodin-Faber have played 243 for comparison's sake. But you look at that, and that's where you need them to be as in terms of a shutdown type pair, especially while Thomas Chabot is working his way back into the lineup. So I'm really excited to see what Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub can become the more familiar they get to play with each other. And poor Thomas Chabot, he finally gets a good defensive partner. And then now that he's injured, it's like, well, unfortunately, him and Sanderson are working even better. But again, you said it. Maybe we can point people to 2 shows ago where we discussed the ideal defensive pairs. You had a JBD Chabot pair in mind. JBD paired with Jacob Chychrun tonight. Okay, before we get to the New York Islanders, how about some keys to the game for the Ottawa Senators? Number 1, play with confidence. This team's got to play with confidence. Don't forget over this layoff that this is a team that's won 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5. If I'm DJ Smith, I'm making sure this team knows that going into this game, because over times they've probably suffered from low confidence. Obviously not playing their best at times this season, but right now they should be on a heater. But I'm worried that because of the long break, maybe they do suffer from a bit of, oh yeah, wait, we did just do that.
Yeah, at least, Ross, you're coming home with 2 wins from Sweden. If you're coming home with 2 losses, that's definitely a different story, but it has been a while. But if you're looking at confidence, the Senators should have confidence. They're on a 3-game winning streak, whereas the Islanders, sure, they're on a 2-game winning streak, but the Islanders are 3-4-3 in their last 10 games, and that's with the 2-game winning streak, like I mentioned. So it has not been easy for the Islanders to beat out teams, and especially, Ross, the Islanders are no stranger to being involved in close 1-goal games, as they seem to thrive off loser points. So definitely, this is a team, if you're the Ottawa Senators, they just came off an overtime win and a shootout win. They can hang in extra time and in closer games. Let's see them do that up against the Islanders.
Number 2, short shifts after the long break between games.
like we mentioned, this Islanders team a little older, a little slower. So use that speed, that energy to your advantage. Rest versus rust. We're going to see how it plays out here. Hopefully the rest ends up being the better factor here. They're rested up. They got good legs. I want to see DJ rolling those lines. I don't want to see the top six playing too much here, even though they're obviously talented and nothing wrong with getting Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk out there as often as you can. But I want to see short shifts so that they're really utilizing that pace of play.
And number 3.
Number 3 is an interesting one because we literally just changed the words in the bottom half of this. It's exactly like it was against Minnesota. Earn power plays. Now, they didn't convert power plays against the Wild, who had the worst penalty kill in the National Hockey League. Still do. I didn't realize they gave up 5 in one game recently. That'll crush your percentage.
Ross, they gave up 5 power play goals in that game and then 2 shorthanded goals. That was, I think, an 8-3 loss to Dallas. So 7 of the 8 goals were on special teams.
Amazing. Well, the New York Islanders are right beside the Wild. The Islanders have the second worst penalty kill in the National Hockey League, which to me doesn't really make sense when you have the goaltending that the Islanders do and that Pelech-Pulock defensive partnership. At least usually they're not paired together. We'll get to that. But to me, it's just interesting that a team with such like a conservative style of play, and they've got so many defensive-minded forwards. Just think of Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and they've got a few clones of him on the team. I'm surprised that the Isles penalty kill is as bad as they are, but they're at 70%. So earn power plays, take advantage of them, and win the game. That's the play for the Ottawa Senators. Now, what about the other side of things? We'll get to that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Guys, Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. It started off with humble beginnings, 3 best friends making a life-changing decision and opening their first store in Kingston. Well, they grinded, and through hard work and dedication, they now have 4 stores in Ottawa. The Ottawa locations are Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. So they're able to help you out wherever you live in the nation's capital. Mary J's offers the absolute best and newest products in the market with many new additions to the menu every single week. Check out their website to see what they're adding. Whether you're a rookie or a grizzled vet, you know they're going to have the products that you want. Mary J's also offers competitive pricing. In fact, they're going to price match any store in the city. So you're guaranteed to get the best price around at any Mary J's location. And the key to it all is the customer service. They got the friendliest bud tenders around, always with a smile and ready to assist you. One of the owners, Dashy, is a die-hard Sens fan. So go to the stores, say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Sens, and check out all the latest great products that Mary J's has to offer.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Now, we live in a world where you don't always plan ahead. Sometimes spontaneous is the way to go. And at Game Time, they understand that. Buying tickets for your favorite event should be easy. And that's what Game Time thrives to do. They've got killer last-minute deals on tickets at the best price guaranteed. You can stop stressing and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have. Game Time's the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for hockey, football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy. You'll know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buying tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you got them. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you'll never have to dig through your emails. Snag the tickets without the stress at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, Pilsy, here we go on the lead up to 7:30 Eastern when the Senators will host the New York Islanders. The Senators come into this game with an 8-7-0 record, 8th in the Atlantic Division, second last in the conference. But Pilsy, we got those sweet, sweet games in hand.
I love me some games in hand. It's like for Thanksgiving reference, Ross. It's like having leftovers. Sure, the main meal's already been eaten, but you got extra meals going on for the rest of your work lunches. So that's the games in hand experience.
But your coworkers ate all their food right away, and you're just staring there, just staring them in the face, eating right in front of them.
Well, Ross, everybody gets on me for being a slow eater, but I always get the last laugh. You've already crushed half your shawarma platter and you can't take any more, and I'm still just slowly enjoying the nice shawarma sandwich.
Yes, you certainly are. Always at Shawarma Palace. Now, Pilsy, we're hearing from Cheryl Pounder today telling us we made it. We made it. We had a good back and forth with her yesterday. Head over to Twitter at Sens Central. I posted the first known photo of Pilsy and I said, this is the last game day for the Ottawa Senators. It feels like forever, but at least the vibes stayed a bit higher with that shootout victory. Josh Norris with the lone goal in the shootout. Anton Forsberg was brilliant in goal against the Wild. And then the way they won against Detroit, yeah, you don't want to blow a 4-goal lead and then come back, but no. Timmy Stützle, the home run swing, looking like a young Barry Bonds before his head grew 6 hat sizes. He was just whacking them out there. You absolutely love to see it for Tim Stützle. Now, Erik Brannstrom, to me, is an interesting guy to watch tonight. I know we already did our Locked On players, but I want to give a bit of shine to Erik Brannstrom, who finally got on the score sheet with his first point of the year, Pilsy, was that goal, right? It wasn't just his first goal of the year. That was his first point, and it was an absolute beauty. And it is worth noting, too, that he was injured in the last game against the New York Islanders on October 26th. So it's a bit of a revenge game of sorts. I'm going to be watching Erik Brannstrom a little bit more closely tonight, although he is paired with Travis Hamonic. So will be interesting to see what happens there. The New York Islanders are a team that really confuses me. What are they? What are they trying to be? Do they think they're going to be a cup contender? They're also a team that, my goodness, they thrive off of losing, right? Like the loser points are adding up with this team more than almost any other team in the league. They are 7, 6, and 5 so far through this young season, and there's reason for that, right? Like, this is a team that hasn't gotten the goaltending that they're used to. I mean, from their number one goalie, more importantly, like their team save percentage is .917. That's good. But if you had told me that Ilya Sorokin would be under a .910 save percentage after 12 starts, I would have looked at you sideways. That's, to me, their path to success is relying on Sorokin, but it's been Varlamov who's been the better of the two so far.
Yeah, and Ross, what stood out to me more was Sorokin's goals against average, 3.21. Like, that's very surprising, and he's been a part of 4 of those overtime losses. So, kind of weird start for Ilya Sorokin here, but yeah, the New York Islanders, I'm not really sure where they stand as far as kind of what their goals are here. Like, they have a decent team with some good depth, but is anyone scared to play the Islanders? Like, is this a team where you're really nervous about? Like, are they rebuilding? Are they going for it? Like, what's this team going to do at the deadline? I have no clue.
Yeah, well, and you won't, because Lou Lamoriello is
true.
The king of secrecy around the National Hockey League. Now, let's run through the lines, and then we'll discuss individual players throughout. Bo Horvat is at top center. They've moved Matthew Barzal to left wing this season, allowing a little more speed on the wing, which, with that, and Engvall, who's always been a speedy player, that's something they desperately needed. But, their top line is Bo Horvat at center, Matthew Barzal at left wing, and Simon Holmstrom at right wing. The second line, Brock Nelson, Pierre Engvall, and Kyle Palmieri. The third line is Jean-Gabriel Pageau, alongside Anders Lee and Oliver Wahlstrom. The fourth line is Casey Cizikas with Hudson Fasching and Cal Clutterbuck. No Matt Martin expected tonight. Maybe that's why Ottawa saw that and they're like, hey, let's take McEwen out, call back up Matthew Highmore. But the Isles defense, you've got Adam Pelech with Noah Dobson, a change from his typical partner. Ryan Pulock is on the second pair with Alexander Romanov. And the third pair is Sebastian, no, not that Aho, and Scott Mayfield. Again, we're still waiting to hear who starts in goal. It will either be Ilya Sorokin or Semyon Varlamov. Pilsy, who are you looking out for on this Isles roster?
My lookout player is going to be Brock Nelson. Ross, Brock Nelson's got to be one of the most underrated players in the entire league.
And over a long period of time, too.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm looking at his game logs, and he's consistently put up 20-plus goals a year. Nodak alum. You love to see that, University of North Dakota. And his last 2 seasons, I was shocked. 36 goals and 37 goals. This guy is almost pushing 40-plus goals. He's projected to get 46 this season. He's already got 10 goals in 18 games. And the one thing this guy does is he puts the puck on net. He gets so many shots. I mean, I was watching the game. This was a couple weeks ago on the 13th up against the Oilers. He had 10 shots that game. This guy is just firing the biscuit at the net. So, I mean, now you could argue what's the quality of those shots? 10 shots, no goals, not exactly great numbers there. So he's ripping a lot from the side. But
he's shooting 15% on the season, so that's not bad. Last year he had 222 shots, which was a career high.
Yeah, that's the thing though. He's one of those guys that has no issues just putting the puck on net, but don't let it fool you. He's got a really good shot that can beat you clean just coming up the wing here. So Brock Nelson is going to be a guy I'm looking out for.
And he's a guy who's actually scoring. I'm looking at a few players who have not scored. I've got a different lookout player because they do have one key. I would almost call him a superstar. I think he's on his way to it. But before I unveil who I'm talking about there, I want to discuss a few players on their team who have shockingly poor numbers. Yeah. Anders Lee with 3 goals in 18 games, minus 6 on the season. He just has not been able to produce. And he's a guy who scored 28 last year, 28 the year before. They need him to be a goal scorer in the National Hockey League. And at this point in his career, he's just struggling to do that. He is 33 years old. Jean-Gabriel Pageau, 0 goals in 18 games this season. Only 5 assists, minus 7. That was shocking to me. Then you look at the long-term contract that was signed to Pierre Engvall this summer. I don't think they expected him to be set the world on fire type player, but 1 goal in 17 games. Then you look and it even continues on, Oliver Wahlstrom, who people thought, when the Isles were interested in Alex DeBrincat, that was a piece that was being dangled. 1 goal in 12 games. They are getting absolutely no production from many players on their roster that I thought would be able to produce. And to me, that's a big concern if these guys actually want to be considered legit. These guys are giving me big vibes of when the Senators came back from Sweden the last time, where it was yeah, they had a winning record, but they also had a ton of loser points. And it's are they really that good? Because when you look at it from points perspective, you're oh, okay, they're middle of the pack. That's where they are. That's fine at this part of year. But then you look and they have 7 wins in 18 games. They're frauds with a minus 11 goal differential.
I don't even know if they're frauds, Ross, because I don't think anyone has high expectations for them. They're just mid. That's what they are. They're a mid team that's going to be stuck there for a while.
Well, who's not mid is Noah Dobson. If you're making, I don't even think this is a hot take. If you're making a Team Canada right now, he's right in the mix for a third pair role. I think he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look at all the players, but he leads the team in points with 15 points. He's got 5 goals, 10 assists, +5 rating. Noah Dobson is a really good player. And I believe, Ross, he got to spend some time with Chara as his defensive partner, didn't he? So, I mean, that's a really good mentor to have if you're a young defenseman, to have Chara with you for a season.
The only defenseman from Canada with more points than Noah Dobson so far this season, Travis Sanheim, but he's played 1 more game, has 1 more point. Josh Morrissey, Vince Dunn, Shea Theodore, Evan Bouchard, and that Cale Makar guy who has 11 more than anybody else. But no, maybe that's a bit hyperbole for me, but I just think that if you haven't watched Noah Dobson play much, tonight's a good opportunity to dial into his game. He did score the game-winning goal against Ottawa in New York the last time these two teams played. So he's been known to come up big, and again, still young. He was the same draft as Brady Tkachuk, that 2018 draft. Where did he go in that draft? He went 12th overall, a PEI native. So I'm going to be looking out for Noah Dobson tonight. You're going to be looking out for Brock Nelson. And I think this is the type of game where if you get 1, 2, 3 goals early, then you might be able to shut it down. And there's just not a whole lot of firepower offensively. And you know that the Horvat line's going up against Sanderson and Zub all night long, right? And I think that works in the Senators' favor. And yeah, Brock Nelson scoring, but not a whole lot else going on in the bottom 3 lines on this team. Pilsy, I'm excited, buddy. We've got a real hockey game to cover today. And that gets me fired up. What are you most excited about tonight?
I was just so excited to wake up today, Ross, and be like, we got a game preview episode. I love doing the game preview episodes. You guys know we always try to cover it fully. And I'm excited to sit down on my couch, watch some Ottawa Senators hockey, and then the postcast is back, baby. Whether we vent or vibe, looking for some vibes tonight, though. I'm feeling some vibes on a Friday night here. So I'm just excited to get back into the swing of things. Don't get me wrong. Love doing interviews, love having guests on the show, but I want to cover Senators hockey, baby. So let's do it. 7:30 tonight. Woo!
I was just going to say, since the last Ottawa Senators game, we've had Ian Mendez on the show. We've had Dr. Bob. We've had a Bass from Shawarma Palace and Matt Sogaard, who will be in the lineup tonight, albeit as the backup goalie. He will be in the mix. Yeah, lots of guests recently on Locked On Senators. You can find a full playlist as well of all of our guests who have been on this show on YouTube at Sens Central. LockedOn.Senators are the social media handles, and then just search Locked On Senators on YouTube for all the latest. I love the Citizens React video after the Timmy Stützle overtime win, where Sean Redding, our British correspondent, Sean Redding, was in the Senators video. Do you see that? Their Man on the Street with Chris Phillips video. Thought that was pretty cool. Not only for Sean, but for all the people who were involved. And shame on those who didn't know who Chris Phillips was. Come on.
Yeah, I feel like Chris Phillips is one of those guys, like, those Sens fans probably knew him, but he's not like a big recognizable figure
outside of Ottawa.
Yeah. If you see him in Ottawa, you're probably going to figure that one out, but we'll give them a pass on that one.
Yes, obviously I'm just playing. No shame when you got the Sens logo on. You're a good man or woman in my book.
People.
So
yeah,
good people here on the Sens bandwagon, and hopefully we pick up a few more along the way. If Tim Stützle keeps setting up U.S. highlight reels on fire on SportsCenter, on ESPN, woo-wee. Well, we got plenty of room on the bandwagon here at Sens Central. So looking forward to a great game tonight. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
I think this is going to be a close game, Ross. I think it's going to be a nail biter right to the end. The idea of going past regulation, I'm kind of expecting that. So get ready, get comfy, get your beverages, get your dinner in order, and sit down and enjoy an Ottawa Senators game day. It feels like forever.
It certainly does. We'll see you in the postcast. For today, we say goodbye. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.